Gabriel said if we won the war, we could build a whole new world. Just figured we'd get started right here with your home.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say
Say
what?
what?
Say what?
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum podcast. I'm Ryan from coldsploitation.com, and I'm joined with my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
Feeling patriotic today. Feeling very festive. Red, white, and blue, and 13 colonies and all that. Right? Is that what there is? Is that the history? I can't remember. Well, we're coming up on the 250th anniversary of America, right? Near and dear to our hearts. We are an American podcast. If you're listening in another country like, Canada or England or anything, fuck you. This is our time to shine here, as July 4th is coming up soon, and as we release this episode, it will be just before July 4th. And so we've done a few patriotic episodes before, right? I think last year we did Uncle Sam, didn't we? I want to say.
God. Jesus.
Yeah, I want to say it was last year.
I just had a flash.
Yeah, you forgot about it. We've done Independence Day before as well.
Yeah, for one of our early themes.
Yeah,
Jeff Goldblum.
I'll have to maybe repost that one at some point, because that's quite an old episode, and it's one we haven't talked about in quite some time. So I do remember, it's like I said, it's been a really long time since I watched the movie, because since the podcast I've not watched again. I do remember something about a dog.
You remember the dog, not Jeff Goldblum and oh my God, that's
pretty much the only thing I do remember is the dog in the tunnel.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna die just remembering. Oh my God.
But yeah, serendipitously though, I mean, we're talking about Independence Day, but we have a movie that relates to Independence Day. It's directed by the same person, Roland Emmerich. Roland Emmerich's, he's one of those directors that I don't really know. When you talk about Independence Day, do you immediately think Roland Emmerich movie, or do you think like Will Smith movie, or what do you think when you think about Independence Day? Like, does Roland Emmerich come to mind as a roll off the tongue director for you?
Yeah, in the idea of like just shitty, schlocky 90s films, like a Michael Bay.
Bay-ish, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, our German Michael Bay, because,
I think like what you're getting at is he is one of the people that you think of when you say blockbuster movie, right? That he like the idea of the blockbuster in the 90s and the 2000s was really cemented by people like Roland Emmerich and Michael Bay, who were making these really mass marketed, giant spectacle type movies that had a very outlandish budget for what they actually offered, and were well regarded and did pretty well at the box office, despite the fact that when you really critically analyze them, they aren't that good of a movie. The idea behind the blockbuster was that it made a lot of money because it was a spectacle for people, and not so much that it was like an actual good movie that you would want to sit down and watch again and again. I don't know. And that probably, that might be offensive to some people. I don't know. Maybe them's fighting words for these people, because there may be some people who are just like, love these types of blockbuster films and just sit down and be like, anytime they're on, they probably watch them. I'm just not one of them. I don't find there's a big appeal to a blockbuster movie, at least, and we don't have these types of movies right now. Would you agree? Do you think that we've kind of gone away from the idea of blockbuster movie at this point?
I think the modern blockbuster is a Marvel film.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that would be it because it's this, giant spectacle and,
Would you say that Spielberg's newest movie that's coming out, or actually I think it is out right now, what the fuck is it called? Disclosure Day. Would you say that is trying to harken back to a blockbuster type movie?
Well, I have heard nothing about that, so I can't tell you.
Okay. Well, then I guess not. I think part of the problem too with a blockbuster type movie is that Hollywood budgets have blossomed and have really grown over time to the point, and especially because a lot of that money goes towards stuff like CGI and computer related stuff. So budgets have just sort of exponentially increased. And so what you used to call a blockbuster is now like, yeah, that's yesterday's movie, right? It's not as it doesn't mean as much anymore to say like this,
I also think too, they're kind of falling out because to have a blockbuster, you have to have something like feel like you're having fun and something's worth celebrating and turning your brain off. And I think modern American life,
kind of changed that.
I mean, like in the 90s,
sure.
Bill Clinton hand job, shoot him out the ass. We're fine. Now it's like, who want, it's everyone bitching about like the new Batman was 3.5 hours long and Robert Pattinson wasn't brooding enough. Needs to brood more. So it's, I think it's also like a cultural thing too, because the last like Superman was happy, like that, a happy fun go lucky, blockbuster last year. But I mean, like I think culturally where we are now, like I don't think society as a whole, no matter where you are on the political spectrum, everyone's pretty either nihilistic or pessimistic. So
I would also argue that to have a blockbuster, you have to have blockbuster video, and we don't. So
it's true.
This kind of defeats the purpose of having a blockbuster.
Well, we have one. We got that one left.
Yes,
up in like either Oregon or Washington.
It's true. Yeah. So the movie that we're tackling today, and let me just cue up some patriotic music. Is obviously
Good morning, USA.
And that's
I got a feeling that it's gonna
get out of that one because we're gonna get completely lambasted by the copyright. But no, what we're tackling today is called The Patriot.
Oh, I thought American Dad. Fuck.
Yeah, you wished it was every 15 seasons of American Dad. No, The Patriot from 2000, which again I have to state, and I think I said this in the outro of the last episode, but I'm kind of surprised that this film was released in 2000 because it really does, to me, feel like it's a 90s film, like in Braveheart style, 1990s, like late 90s style film.
You're only saying that just because Mel Gibson's the star of it.
Maybe. Maybe.
Braveheart.
I feel like the movie feels older. Like it's kind of gotten itself into the pantheon of cult cinema, of action war movies, blockbusters, that it feels older than 2000. So this year it's 26 years old. We missed the 25th anniversary, unfortunately. But I mean,
America 250 is more important.
That is true. That's true. It just feels older for some reason. And after watching it, I would say that it does have sort of like this timeless sort of 90s 2000s element to it. But I think I feel like maybe it's just because we grew up with it that it feels a little bit older to me. I don't know.
I would agree because again, like at the time, like you have like Saving Private Ryan and Black Hawk Down and those like types of action war movies. This film does feel like it should have came out in like 96, 97, 2000. feels almost like an anathema to the what was going on in the zeitgeist at the time. I would agree with that. Because like in my head, it's like, oh, that film came out in 96, and no, it didn't. It's like I do the same thing with the GoldenEye. I always think like, if it came out like 96, 98, right? No, 95. It's like, oh yeah, I keep forgetting that the game came out like 4 years later. That's why, you moron.
I think you kind of you landed on something too that's interesting. So we talk, the intro here is that this time period, 2000, 2001, was a huge war movie type period of time. We had stuff like you mentioned Black Hawk Down, Saving Private Ryan, but then you reminded me there was other things like Behind Enemy Lines from 2001. It's a huge time frame of war movies. Why do you think that is? What do you think about the historicalness of it?
I think Saving Private Ryan and the money that fucker brought in, everyone was greenlighting anything that was semi-historical.
What, 1999, I want to say, was it? 98.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're probably right on the money there. Then, Saving Private Ryan was like, wow, the war effort can really draw things in. And so everybody was making something similar to that.
And that was pretty popular up until like 2004, because around then you get the Bourne movies, and then everything starts becoming super, hyper fight terrorism, super Asian shit. So like,
sure, which makes sense. I mean, at the time,
yeah. So, I think Saving Private Ryan's the sole answer, and that's a movie I think would be fun to do one of these days, because it's a movie as a young person watching it. I loved it. Something that got me into like liking history. And I thought it was a really good movie. And the older I get and I watch it, like it is a well-made movie, but is it like the posturing of it and like how it like, sets America's mind frame for like understanding like the politics of the film? It's not good. Not good at all.
Yeah, I think you have that that problem with most movies that are made, because America is one of the biggest distributors of movies, and you when you have them trying to tell a war story from the standpoint of America, you are obviously going to have them kind of harp on the best parts of what America contributed, and not necessarily the worst parts of it. And I think
stuff like that's the reason why people to this day think like we single-handedly beat the Nazis.
Yeah, it was us. We stormed in and knocked on their door and said, "Get it, get out."
Not mentioning at all. Actually, it was the Soviets and the 20 million that died on the Eastern Front that got that job done. We were just a little part of the European front. And that being besides the point, but like, yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it when it comes to this film too, because this film is terribly just nonsensically batshit with like, it's whimsy and jingoism and
right. Yeah, it's a movie about the Revolutionary War, written from the American side, written as though America was completely devastated by England, and there was really no other option. They were left with, no other option besides fighting a war that no one wanted to do, and it's obviously not historically accurate. And we'll talk about historical fiction versus like this movie's historical fiction, with the emphasis on the fiction. But yeah, I think you always run into that, and I feel like you said, the idea behind these movies, the Patriot included, they were pretty successful when they came out at the time, and now that we have had some distance from those, and we've kind of, I feel like we've done a little bit better at trying to understand history better than the rewrites that we've done. It is that we now look back at these movies and kind of think like, they aren't as good as people were lauding them for back in the day. So And you said, too, that this is a movie that you didn't even really need to watch for this episode. Like, you could have just gone off of memory and you would have been fine.
This is like, this movie I've seen, like it's probably in like the top 10 of films I've seen like the most. It's like The Godfather. In like Empire Strikes Back, I could talk about it like, I could have amnesia and like somebody would say like a word, like a sleeper age. I'd wake up and be able to, just poof, rattle off. Yeah. I've seen this movie a billion times, and I've already said it before on the podcast. I said it last episode. This is going to be giving my score away a little bit. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. This film, like with A Christmas Story, which makes sense because like it took me till I was like in college to see that movie, and even though it was on TBS, 24/7 every year, this movie was the equivalent, but on like the History Channel, TBS, and like AMC on like every 4th of July weekend. So, it's like Tom Hanks is Big. If it's on TV, I'm just out of the shower, balls naked, I'm gonna sit down and watch it. Soap suds and all on my bed because I'm just sitting there watching it, taking it all in. We could have watched it the one year we were playing Red Dead online, and there was 5-time XP, but we didn't do that. We were grinding out that 5-time XP. But yeah, no, I have seen this film a billion times. It's sad. So
yeah, and I haven't. This is my first time really actually sitting down and watching this movie. I don't really think I've had the experience of seeing more than a couple minutes of it. So. It's interesting. I would, what was the reasoning behind you seeing this movie so many times? Like, what was it? Just the historical element to it that you liked watching it, or was it like a staple in your family that you felt like you had to watch it, or what?
No. My family aren't very well dressed in like films, except like my older sister. No, I saw this when it came out. On VHS, a neighbor rented it, their family, and I watched it over there so I was like 10 years old, when it was out on VHS, and just liked it. And then, like I said, every year for like 15 years, it was on television constantly. So like I said, if it was on and I was like flicking through the channels, I'd flip it over and watch it, so.
Gotcha. Okay. Good to know. All right, let's take a break real quick and talk about what we've got on the show today for drinking, because it's not technically a beer. We normally have beer, but this time we went with something a little bit different. Martin had seen that there was a special edition beverage at our local Stewart's, and
if you're in the Adirondacks, you would know it's pronounced Storts. Starts.
And it was kind of a perfect alignment for this episode. Obviously released for the July 4th time period, but something that would go well with the theme, and so we decided to grab it. It's made by Big Sipz, I guess is the brand. I don't know if the brand is Big Sipz or Super Sipz or whatever, but they have a bunch of different variations of this. But Big Sipz with a Z, of course. And the beverage is just called Merica, with an apostrophe, just Merica. It comes in a like juice box of sorts. It's like a cardboard juice box with a plastic cap.
It is like the long forgotten box juice that I remember drinking as a kid. I don't know if you do. Sips, like that,
Yeah, and or it's actually I think my daughter's formula comes in this type of packaging as well. Easy to get it mistaken for, and you accidentally dump that into.
It's a high-C ecto cooler.
That's right. I'll be honest with you, never heard of Big Sipz before. Haven't really seen it. I don't really look at stuff like this in stores really anyway. This sort of thing, this reminds me of like you were saying off air before, like Gamer Fuel or some sort of, stupid tie-in with video games and stuff like that. So I don't really look at this stuff that often. I'm also not a huge fan of like the malt beverage kick sort of thing, and stuff like that. Seltzers, club tails, or whatever they're called. I don't really care about that stuff that much. So this stuff kind of passes me by, but it made sense for the episode and the theme. This one is basically, it's like Windex Blue in the packaging. And it's effectively like a bomb pop, would you say? A rock pop, a bomb pop, whatever you would call it. Yeah. That is the flavor. Like a berry-ish, like a malty berry-ish, malt beverage berry. And the big thing about these Big Sipz is why they call them Big Sipz. I don't really understand the connotations behind it, because they have a Super Sipz, and the Big Sipz is actually bigger than the Super. You would think Super is bigger than the Big. I don't know. I didn't come up with the the marketing behind it, but the Big Sipz is 16% in a 330 milliliter box, which is like pretty outrageous when you really stop and think about it. Like, somebody could easily pound 330 milliliters and be flat on their ass in like 20 minutes and just, completely toasted. But in terms of actually drinking it as you're probably meant to, or like what's the safe limit for drinking it, which is how I'm doing it, which is just literally sipping it, as it's called, Big Sipz. It's not bad. I was expecting way, way worse than what this actually offers. Like, I was expecting a very disgustingly bitter and super alcohol-y drink that was not very good, but you pounded it because you wanted to get drunk. And what I got was actually like a pretty, just powerful bomb pop flavor. You can definitely taste the alcohol content on it. As you swallow, there is a very, very heavy ethanol alcohol flavor to it. It is very hot swallowing. It's like very spicy. It's like, whiskey-like, and when you actually swallow. But I would say that this is fairly good, and for like less than $4 a box, I don't think it's a bad deal. I would say give it a try, in my opinion. And I'll wait to hear yours. What do you think?
It's not for me. It's as you said, like with the malt liquor and stuff like that, not a fan of these types of things. But I do like looking at the stuff in the store just to kind of see what the hell's, being released. And I saw this and I was like, oh God, this is trailer trash. I didn't expect it to be 16%. Drinking it, that was a spicy one. Drinking it, it tastes like a bomb pop. Got the blue raspberry, a little lemon, and a slight hint of cherry at the end. The alcohol on it is very pronounced, like it's like an unrefined vodka. You get that, big kick at the end. So if you're not a fan of that, you're not gonna, care for it. It's super sugary. I can tell, especially because it's fucking 95 degrees here and like 100% humidity right now. I'm gonna wake up with a hangover and have beer shits for 3 days straight, because my body, even if I sat here and just pumped IV into me for 3 days straight, this is gonna override it. It is what it is. Like, for the price point, and you're looking to get shit faced in a hurry. If you're a kid, go for it. If not, I'd say stay away. I hate like the Big Sipz, with the Z. I hate the Merica. I hate all that, shit about it. Like, what was once, funny to belittle people like that now is, these assholes revel in it. So just looking at it is like mocking, and I hate that we've let this become part of our country and culture,
Yeah.
I don't think George Washington would be like, yes, freedom, liberty, let me drink this boozy beer.
This is like for people who are celebrating July 4th on a boat. they want to get they want to find out that they can get a DUI on a boat, and they're drinking a Big Sipz. That's what's going on here. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's fine. I probably wouldn't, go out of my way to get it again. It's fine. If you need something really quick, like, if I was in college and I was like going to some party and, I used to go with Old English for the quick fix, but, Big Sipz could do the same too for for cheaper. So I don't know.
Such a refined drinker.
That's right. Yeah.
Can tell you weren't watching. You hadn't seen Star Wars yet, then, because Billy Williams was the Colt 45.
I Colt 45 a couple times too.
So
and King Cobra as well. Good
Hurricane. We had.
I don't see any of those anymore. So
they're around. Really? I haven't seen King Cobra. You can still get 40s of Old English and Colt 45 around here.
I was thinking they may have fallen out of the.
I don't think they make Hurricanes anymore, because that's what people in college when I went to Oswego.
It's too bad.
Was Hurricane malt liquor and those tall boys. Ugh.
Yep.
Oh God.
All right. Well, let's talk the Patriot. This movie's almost 3 hours long, so we obviously have to condense it down a little bit. I guess where we want to start is the film picks up like right around 1776, right? I think they even have a graphic that says 1776. And
it starts off with the old Fallout line. War.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. Effectively. War never changes, but America had to fight, so and so basically the idea behind this is we've got old Ben Martin. He fought in the
distant relative of mine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Very, very much so. You probably had a relative in the Revolutionary War for sure. And this guy, he must be historical as well, right? He's got to be.
No, he's based off of somebody. But
I know. I was just joking. But you've got old Ben Martin. He fought in the French and Indian War, right? Prior to this, and which kind of has.
I was going to say, which to preface for those who listen that are outside the country, that's considered what they call the 7-Year War, because it was a theater to a greater European conflict. So,
very good, very good.
Yeah. That's greedy use. But waiting, you like to band-aid your words about.
True. You got to get the history in.
Yeah.
Agreed. But I think that idea, like the setting up that Benjamin Martin was part of the French and Indian War is pretty important to the movie, because it effectively sets him up as like this guy who's like, you know what, I fought in a war, I was really good at it, right? Like everybody in the beginning of this movie is quick to say like Benjamin Martin, wow, what a sharpshooter, what a guy who's a master tomahawk thrower,
he raped all the ladies in town.
Yes, no, they don't mention that part for some reason.
He raped all the ladies and scalped all the Indians and French. And,
they like to just call the spoils of war.
You could tell like the way he plays it, like it's his Vietnam. Like you should have Fortunate Son playing the background.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, they kind of treat it like that, where he's having flashbacks at French and Indian War.
And that's why he's such a failed carpenter, as we see him in the beginning trying to make this
hilarious,
hilariously look like no wonder it didn't hold your fat ass. It's like made out of twigs.
The thing with that strikes me as really funny is like the beginning of the movie where he's making that rocking chair, makes it look like no one has invented the rocking chair before. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to perfect the recipe of the rocking chair. The IKEA
Tesla.
Because everybody's watching. He's like, will it work? Will it work? It's a rocking chair. No one's had one before. On a plantation in South Carolina, no one had a rocking chair at that time. And it's funny because like later on they show him in the British headquarters. And he's like examining a rocking chair that works. He's, what's this? I don't believe it. It's like, how does this work? It's really funny. I think that like at least it's a good callback because it's pretty funny.
Yeah, no, it's a good joke that because it like when watching this film, you're kind of like you'd be like, what the.
Yeah.
Fucking like what's the point?
It's
Like,
a
so the
rocket.
fact that it takes like an hour and 45 minutes to
That
pay
is
that
true.
off.
Yeah.
They're
it is
like,
true.
yeah,
And
like-
that is
like-
that is a long time for the movie to really pay off this whole idea. Like at the beginning, 15 minutes of the opening of the movie of him designing a rocking chair that doesn't work.
Maybe that wasn't originally written in the script. Like Mel Gibson, like at the time, was really into carpentry, and they're like, "Okay, fine, Mel, we'll let you try to do like rustic 18th century carpentry on like for in the film." He's just sitting there. How do they do it? How the fuck?
And it also defeats the purpose of like they have the not slaves that are around the plantation, and they could have easily whipped one together because by the end of the movie they're building plantation houses and all kinds of things. This is like, Ben, stick to what you're good at here.
Killing natives.
Yeah, killing and maiming and throwing tomahawks. But
Not only that, I was saying that is like strike one for this film when it comes not just like historical accuracy, but the fact that they whitewash slavery so bad in this film. Not only they whitewash it, like they have the gall to like, no, we help Mr. Martin, like we can't, we are family, and it's like, yes, in 1776, in South Carolina, there's.
The idea that like some of them are like, I'd rather die for them than like be shot in the face by the British Army than go with them is just like outlandish and like disrespectful, to be honest with you. It's like
the plan. Oh yes, there's only one racist in all the greatest Charleston. It's just one, and this Donald Logue is that one.
Donald Logue gets to be the only racist guy who is turned around in this movie too. In like true historical accuracy, you'd think like everybody would just be treating them like absolute shit the whole time. Like in the whole movie, like it would feel very bad, of course, but it would just be more authentic to the time period. It's like not just Donald Logue is the guy. Everybody would be like, why the fuck are we fighting with these black people?
It's not just that. It's the whitewashing is bad enough, and it gives people, I think, that don't bother, like, reading into, like, the deeper nuances of our history. This idea of, like, oh, yeah, no, slavery wasn't that bad. Why are you bitching about it still?
Yeah.
In 2026. If at the very least you're going to go that route, don't show them as, like, happy go-getters and, like, oh, no, we freed.
Yeah.
Abigail here freed.
That is a pretty awful.
Don't do that. Just keep them off to the side in the background, like tending to the cotton and stuff. Don't make it feel like they're part of like, Abigail loves reading to the children, which would have been illegal, and they have a good time. It's just really insulting.
I do think it would have been better if they just pretended like they didn't have to show them at all. Like it just don't even bother. And then like the other, like you said, like the whole idea of like it's pretty insulting where they're like, oh, I can't read the sign. Donald looks like, I can. No problem. I'll go over and read that sign for you. I don't know. The whole thing really feels bad. And I think in 2026, a lot of people watching now really see it as like, what the fuck was this movie thinking?
Which to the point is like, that's actually one thing is great about early America. We had like some of the highest literacy in the world because of the, Protestant background of everyone read the Bible and figure it out for yourself type stuff. Like we were like for a long time one of the most well-read nations and most literate nations because of that.
Doesn't it also feel weird, knowing in the Revolutionary War that Heath Ledger even has to say like, oh, we're going to win this war, and then everybody's going to be a free and equal man, and then knowing actual history, it just seems...
Well, not only that, just like, because it's so on the nose of like, well, you may not be free now, but one day the new world you'll be a free man. We'll know what freedom is. And it's just incredibly like idiotic in the way, because it's just platitudes, and it's like that doesn't explain it all, and that's half the problem with how like the Revolutionary War, and it's kind of one of the reasons why, like, for me at least, I don't like for me, when it comes to like American history, it's not something that I've been like overwhelmingly like interested in because we have deified like the founding fathers and all like our history so much. It's just like like for like whatever because when you think about it, it's like, why'd we break away? Well, Britain taxed us on some things, and we were like, no, we were not represented in Parliament, so fuck you, goodbye. And it's like, yeah, well, this doesn't really come with a nuanced understanding when you get taught in like school, college, but I mean, because it's like, well, the French and Indian War happened, and they wanted to get money back for protecting us, because we're their subjects. So it makes it all sound so just idiotic.
And I think part of the problem too is that it just doesn't the film itself doesn't really treat it with the kind of deference
nuance.
that it really and nuance that it really needs. And so you kind of are left with this very like, again, this movie is 3 hours long, and yet it's really not that focused on historical accuracy or even like 'cause one thing I was going to say about this, and we kind of got off on a little bit of a different area that I was going to start with, but it's perfect to jump into, is that one thing that I found really interesting about this movie is that it does a really poor job of actually depicting like the events of the Revolutionary War. Oh, yeah. Because it's so focused on Mel Gibson's character as Benjamin Martin, who this guy is like, come up with a militia and, is leading his own little militia here, that it doesn't do a very good job of actually depicting the events. So like about the, I think it's like 2 and 15 minutes in, all of a sudden they're like, we're winning the war. Like it's like all of a sudden it's like, all we've got to do is this one last push and we've got it basically. And
it doesn't do a good job because the film starts in 1776, but when Charleston falls to Britain, like you see the American flag waving over Charleston and then turns to British. It doesn't say like now it's 1780. Like it doesn't tell you that. So it feels like you have like no sense of time and you have no sense of like what is going on around you. Like they throw some names in like the one battle where they're like, the British are, mud hole stomping, the Continentals, and you got Mel Gibson going like, Horatio's a goddamn fool trying to meet the field. And it's like, cool. That's like the one line, like referring to Horatio Gates. Like, what does it have anything to do? Same thing at the end with like Nathaniel Greene, just like, your militia are gonna break. And it's like, cool. That's good having him in there for 4 minutes,
Right.
It's just like, you get no bearing and understanding of like, as you said, like of the war itself, because it's a melodrama. It doesn't, like, it has like the aspirations of trying to be like a historical epic, like a Ben-Hur, like a Lawrence of Arabia, or Bridge on the River Kwai. Like it wants to be that, but the problem is it's not filled, one, with Shakespearean actors. Two, it's not like grounded enough in reality to like and have a historical lens, whether it be good or bad, like actually work. And it's more focused on being a soap opera, a drama with a lot of violence and gore and just nonsense going on.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, like, again, what we were talking about is the film prioritizes Mel Gibson's family, right? It's Mel Gibson is literally the patriot.
Christ.
He's
Christ.
Yes, he's also Christ. He's the titular patriot here. And so because that's what I was kind of getting at with his background in the French and Indian War. It's the guy that everyone turns to. They're like, this guy can do it. If anybody can organize a militia, this guy can do it. Because, at the beginning of the film, after his one son is murdered by Jason Isaacs' character, Tavington, who storms their plantation and burns it to the ground and kills the kid. He sets out for revenge, right? Because eventually, like before, he was like, you know what? I don't really want to get involved in this. It's not really our business as this family, to get involved. And then once that kind of hits home, he's like, well, everybody's involved in this because the British are even attacking civilians. So he eventually gets involved and he goes for this revenge scheme. And there's that one whole scene where he's basically guerrilla warfaring it.
Oh, it's
between
great.
two trees.
It's great. No, it's great because like his like 10 and like 7-year-old son are sniping like
Yes.
he's like so because as the man who conquered and fucked Fort Wilderness, he has a tomahawk. He's got 12 muskets at the ready at the house, 6 pistols running out there like, come on, we're gonna like it's a really great scene. Like it does work like as like a
Kind of.
spectacle. Well, hold on, it works as a spectacle.
Yes. Okay.
You're right. You're right in the essence of like the film does give Mel Gibson like a good point because when they're doing the whole on the note, talking about what when they're at the church about like whether or not they should fight the British or not, and they're doing like we're what country is that? An American nation. Do I disagree with taxation without representation? Of course I do. But yes, it makes sense. Like a man who's already lost his wife to we don't fucking know what the hell happened there. She's just dead. Was it childbirth? Was it the vapors? We don't know. She's just just dead. And the fact that he's got to take care of 7 kids and his oldest Gabriel's already off to war. Like the fact that yes, I want our country us to break away from Britain, but I'm not willing to sacrifice myself and my sons and family for that. It's a good point, and it's a good setup.
Yeah. Agree.
And like the whole revenge part of it, like with Tabington showing up and killing, his son and all the others. Dramatic, a little ridiculous because I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be shooting them. They would have just bayoneted them. Why waste a fucking besides the point. But the whole wood scene where the ghost is created, it's stupid, but it's awesome because it's so. The whole film relies on the idea, apparently everyone's a fucking sharpshooter, everyone's using modern rifles because the accuracy they're fucking firing these things at, and the kids too fucking fit in their brown vests, firing away, sniping these, brigades. But it's really great and fun, and you get to see this is where Mel Gibson is the best in this, because as we were talking about off air with you saying, he's not that good of a dramatic actor. I'd agree, but him running around basically as, Passion of the Christ Mel Gibson, slaughtering people with a fucking tomahawk. Pretty cool. And pretty fun,
Yeah, it definitely is a fun scene. It is absolutely over the top, I would say. Him bouncing from tree to tree, taking down, 20 redcoats, between him and his 2 sons is outrageous. I think that is, it makes sense in a film, in a cinematic blockbuster, but for reality, it's a little bit far-fetched.
It only works as well because if it if you're trying to do it today, it wouldn't work because automatic fire, but because it's muzzle loading muskets,
I do like the way that they did depict the muzzle loading. Everybody's just kind of standing around well, shit, I shot 1 shot. I'm free. I guess I'm going to stand here and reload.
Well, which is true because when people think about it, when I was a kid, why that was so when you watch or play a game the Total War games and you do are playing Empire Napoleon, it's why is this even a thing? Why would you have these people march in a line and shoot back and forth at each other? That seems stupid. The idea is because you're all using ranged weapons that are not accurate, you're firing in mass, to take them out. And so having, which, makes sense. So, I mean, it's, it's cool. I think it's fun enough. Like I said, is it awe-inspiring or anything? No, but it's oh, that's pretty badass. When he throws the tomahawk and when the guy's got his Gabriel, he fucking,
the master tomahawk throws, not even thinking about it, just.
I don't know. Maybe that's why his wife's sad. Yeah, he's just doing a party trick one night with
maybe it went wrong
with the tomahawk, and he's and accidentally,
I mean, I will say, I think that. Well, I'm curious what you think. So, because the film really sets up this, again, the Revolutionary War is happening around this family, but really the idea is centered on Mel Gibson's character, who is fashioning a militia, and probably the first hour is basically him getting the initiative and then rounding up a bunch of militia members to join him in the militia, and then this revenge story of him setting out after Jason Isaacs' character, who I will say Tavington is a great villain. I think that Jason Isaacs does a really good job as the villain here. He has that very smarmy sort of Britishism, I would say, because that's the film's whole shtick here is that like, wow, look at this fucking British villain.
And not only that, they make it a point too to do the whole like, gentlemanly officers, don't act like that.
Right.
We must fight according. Don't be shooting officers and such. They'd be willy-nilly all over, but that's like, again, it's like, well, that was the whole point of the guerrilla warfare and like, the militia. And it was, you're not disrupting, a supply line caravan by being like, we'll meet you in the field over there. And then, so like, it's also too, like, it's just like, because again, it's like, it's not like King George was telling Lord Cornwallis, like, fight gentlemanly. Go out there, have a cup of, nice Earl Grey tea before having the fight and point out where to have the fight. And like, it's stupid, but it's funny. Like, because again, too, it gives the idea too that, people have like, oh, they fuck, like this idea of British, like, oh, they're above the fray.
There's dignity in it. And I mean, I think it's an interesting idea. I think that it is a way to villainize the British even more. It's like, oh, look, they originally fought with dignity, and then all of a sudden, their officers started killing civilians for the fun of it, right? And so it kind of sets that in motion of like, look how bad the British were, and so we were kind of forced into it. We were just, there was nothing that we could do. We either had to fight the same way, or we were going to all perish and immediately lose because we didn't fight with the same amount of vigor as the British. And I think, like, again, that is a sort of historical fiction-y part of this movie, is that, like, it really paints the British as like these absolute villains. There's really no even characterizing a British person from a humanistic perspective. I guess the only person who it tries to do that with is Adam Baldwin's character, who effectively is a traitor and then has some strong feelings about it after he's forced to burn down an entire church full of women and men and civilians.
Which is strike number 2 on this film. Not having only having like one loyalist in the army.
Yeah.
No. The American Revolution, there was a lot, nationwide, a lot less support for the war than there was, up in New England, and you would find more support, but like, especially down in the Carolinas and the South now. Half of Cornwallis's army should have been fucking loyalists marching around,
right? Yeah, and I think like that's another interesting element that you're pointing out right there, is that this movie, again, it pits literally Americans against the British. But in the actual scheme of the Revolutionary War, I think what would have been a more interesting dynamic for this movie is to have a lot more loyalists in the movie that were antagonists. Because that would have given a lot more dramatic heft to the film than just having some random British villain who we have to get vengeance with.
It'd be like the Civil War, because there's many families.
Exactly.
Where, like, you had one person fighting for the Union, another for the Confederacy.
Exactly.
I think again, like, because the film is like a part of its time and creation. Like I everyone loved the war. Everyone was for it, and it's just like, it's not true. And that's something that that doesn't, get talked about enough.
Well, because I think that would defeat some of the jingoism.
No, it does. No, it does. It defeats the jingoism, but at the same time, it's like, if that were the case, if everybody was, for the war, well, we would have curb stomped the British out of America, and we wouldn't have need the French, because everybody would have been there with a fucking rifle at the side and ready to,
Yeah. I mean, on our own territory.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree. I think what I was getting at is, though I really like Jason Isaacs' character, he does a great job. He's the epitome of the British villain. I do think that it is really kind of a waste of time that could have been spent on actual interesting dynamics that were at play in the Revolutionary War. It could have definitely had more going on where it just didn't need to focus on this really single conflict that was occurring, because I do think that it is sort of wasting time dealing with that rather than the actual Revolutionary War as a whole. And so if the goal of the Patriot is to show, wow, look at this patriot, like literally a patriot who fought for his belief in a country like America, then to kind of sideline that in favor of a vengeance plot, I think wastes a lot of time in this 3-hour epic. I don't think it needed to be that long because it could have really cut that out. And I still think you would have had a pretty interesting movie about the Revolutionary War that may have been a little bit more authentic to what actually occurred in the Revolutionary War than, one farmer's vendetta, which is probably not even remotely close to what happened for most people. And like it seems cool, but I think as a whole, it just wastes a lot of time.
I think it's a film that's it's a product of the time.
Yeah.
Because I think if you were to do it today, you'd get a better written, more nuanced. Again, you're right. In 3 hours, there should be a lot more going on to it than just the soap opera melodrama. And it's just soap opera melodrama. Again, it's pretty offensive in the grand scheme of things. It's Donald Logue being the one lone racist. And, them focusing on oh, we're going to this city. And, blah, 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 blah. You're right. I think it could have done more with the actual, time period and war itself to, give it more gravitas. And it's just more of a inconvenient background.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that the soap opera element kind of lends itself to this idea that the film had to be an epic. It couldn't just be a strategic depiction of the Revolutionary War from the perspective of a farmer who assembled a militia. That would have been probably enough. But what it does instead is it has to involve a lot of other things. Like the son, Gabriel, has to be a really big. Heath Ledger is great. He's a nice little, he's kind of a boyish figure in this who's learning to become a man, and it's a nice story. But I think
I saw the one local woman in town, and I knew after being the second to lay eyes on her that I had a massive boner.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a nice thought, but. Again, it's really kind of a waste of time that doesn't really go that many places. I think it's just kind of pulling at the heartstrings for one thing. They get married. There's this whole nice little ceremony, and Mel Gibson's has this nice little moment with her where he gives her a necklace and kind of says you're the anchor from, basically it's the epitome of the anchor. You're the anchor for my son. And I think it's the North Star though, right?
Yeah.
It's just what it is. And it's a nice little scene, and then maybe 15 minutes later, she's dead in the church. And so it's it's a means to an end for pulling the heartstrings of look how terrible the British were, look how awful they were. They burned civilians right to the ground in the church, as a means to an end. And I think that's kind of a time waster. The same with what's her name? Charlotte, is it? Yeah, Charlotte. Jolie Richardson's character, who I was for the longest time, I was what the fuck was she in? And I had to look it up, which made me pissed off. And I realized, it was Nip Tuck. That's what she was in, Nip Tuck. But anyway, her whole character is kind of a waste of time, right? It's not, it doesn't really add anything. I saw a joke that somebody wrote that was this film was really trying hard to make you feel bad about a plantation burning down, not once but twice. Like, you know, like so they had to have,
it is true. Like,
they had to have Charlotte's plantation burned down too, and you're like, no, not the plantation that had a whole bunch of slaves on it, not the plantation. It is funny, but her whole entire character is really unnecessary, and then they try to shoehorn in way later on, like the fact that Benjamin is, he's going to, he's in a relationship with this woman who is his wife's sister. Like all of a sudden, he's just kind of attracted to her and gives her a smooch on the lips, and the kids are like, "Oh, Dad, what are you doing?
What do you mean? All of a sudden, he's been scoping that out since."
She does have the corset on for a reason, right? Yeah. The daughter specifically is like, "Dad, you dog. What are you doing? I just learned to say your name."
That's why Susan's like, "You sack of shit. I see you put it in her pooper."
Yeah. And like, again, that is a complete waste of time. Like
the whole stitching thing with like, when Gabriel's staying over at his, betrothed's place, and the mother stitches him in like for good night, and so like he doesn't like, like it's got a funny joke like in it with like when the dad's gun, like, Mr. Howard, he's got the old like Pete's Dragon contraption ear because he can't hear, and he's trying to hear if they're making animal noises. His wife's like, "Oh, I'm a better sewer than my mother," and he's like, "I hope so."
Yeah.
It didn't work before with his lust, and
that's right.
It's just like, is it like a small little funny bit? Yeah, but the film's filled with like stuff like that. It's like it doesn't add anything. No, like
it's like the idea that this film. I feel like there was it set out to be an epic, and that's what it is. It does, for better or worse. It adds a lot of unnecessary detail to make it an epic, and I don't necessarily think that is always a bad thing. I would say this movie is really, for almost 3-hour movie, it does go by pretty quickly. It's not like terribly slow paced or anything like that, where you're sitting there constantly like, wow, look at the time. Like, wow, we're only another 15 minutes in. Damn. It's pretty well paced. It's brisk. I think it moves pretty well, especially in like the middle portion of the movie where it's kind of jumping from militia encounter to a militia encounter, and you sort of have those, those in brief encounters where there's that funny scene where they blow up the ship with all the supplies, and the woman at the dinner party is like, "Oh my god, fireworks! So great!" And then Jason Isaacs' character kicks back Martini because he's like, "Oh god damn it!" Those.
Hold on. So speaking of, what's the best part about this film?
I don't know. What would you say?
Tom Wilkinson.
Yeah,
Cornwallis. That is General Cornwallis.
He is good.
Oh, he is the best part about this film. Like the whole, eye roll at the woman when that happens, and like, horse blanket. It's a horse blanket, and just at the end when like the final battle, like, damn that man, damn that Tavington. I will have, he does such a great job, of doing the whole Jupiter, Mars, come here, boys. Thank you.
Honestly, I appreciate Leon Rippey as well as the one guy who kills himself there. It blows his brains out. Yeah, he's great too, because he really fits the part. He kind of looks like like this.
He looks like somebody you'd see in Red Dead 2 and he does. Like a stranger mission.
Yeah, he looks the part. He's got like the teeth for the part. And again, the whole idea of like his wife dying and he kills himself is sort of a tangent that the film gets on, but it's a nice little note that like, oh wow, civilians are dying in this movie.
Well, not only that though too, as like which I also love Renee Auberjonois as the Reverend Oliver.
Good too.
He's great too, because like the whole part when he's at the house when Gabriel's coming down to try to recruit more militia. He's like, "This is a house of God. We're here to mourn the men that have been killed." And then at the end, you see him walking off with his hat and musket, and they're like, Reverend? And he's like, Shepherd was sent to his flock every now and then when the wolves are near. And it's like, let's go. But when that whole scene happens, when John Billings, shoots himself in the head, that's the biggest sin of them all. You didn't die. You killed yourself. You're going to the lowest of hell. So you just shot yourself in the head,
He didn't get killed in the war honorably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think? What do you think of the whole fight scene where Reverend gets shot and he slow motion perfectly tosses the musket to Gabriel for him to shoot Tavington? It's so.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of those scenes where it's like the idea of the Revolutionary War being this sort of really dramatic one-on-one fight sequence is really stupid, because the idea that happened pretty much slim to none. There wasn't a time where you would not
only that, the fact that Tavington, reloads his pistol within 10 seconds, because it's slow-mo, but he's sitting there, and he's able, it's just stupid.
Yeah.
But it's so schlocky and unnecessary.
It's kind of the equivalent of Viking, shows where they're getting into battles, one-on-one, weapon battles, and it looks cool. And I will say that the Patriot has a great sense of scope. It does look like a very high budget movie. It has many extras. They basically enlisted probably a bunch of Revolutionary War reenactors to come and just be extras in the movie, because it does have a grandiose sense of scope that works well. I think the one that really struck me was when they come into town and there's all the ships that are, just the gigantic ships with their riggings all on the dock. I was like, wow, that looks actually really great, and the film is beautiful in a lot of ways. It has a lot of great shots and, like I said, a great sense of scale. So from that perspective, as a blockbuster, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for those big moments. And I think it does do that pretty well. And I would argue even we don't really see that to this day. A lot of movies don't really capture that sense of scale and scope to the extent that movies like this did back in the day. I think they really did it, and again, that's partially because this was all practical, right? They had literally thousands of extras. It wasn't a CGI'd audience of people in there. It was literally thousands of extras. I think the sense of scope really comes out in this movie. So the war scenes and the battles really do look good. It's just that realistically, no. In the slow-mo, no, I don't think that's it doesn't seem real, but I think they look good at least. And that's what you're looking for. The film only had it had $110 million as a budget. And I mean, I think that looks about right for what we get from the film. Like I said, it's pretty grandiose. It has a large scope to it. I think one of the things that really stands out too is John Williams' score is there to really make it feel bigger too, right? The score itself is this very over the top, whimsical, expansive score from John Williams, who's effectively doing John Williams is John Williams. It's he's showing up, he's making something, but I don't know. It's probably not his best, is what I'm getting at.
It's okay. I think it's just as I was telling you, it's what I would call it's AI with John Williams. It's very rote and just very Spielbergian with its high rises and whimsy and notes. It's not bad, but I don't think it adds anything spectacular to the film.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, for all we care, it's scored by some student at an art school.
Yeah, just a mimicking of John Williams. Yeah. I mean, I think like all of these things kind of add up. And what would you say? Like, do you think that this movie is for the common viewer? Do you think that The Patriot is a pretty good movie? Like for them?
I think as like a enjoyable film to watch, yes. If it's like something you're trying to get any historical value out of, no. But I think as like a film, as a product of entertainment, yeah, I think it's totally enjoyable.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think it does what it sets out to do, is being an entertaining movie about the Revolutionary War. It's like we said, it puts the emphasis on fiction here. It is, again, I think like the whole idea of this guy, Benjamin, riding around with a flag, parading it as they are about to enter into the final conflict of the Revolutionary War is outlandish. But as a jingoistic movie, as it is, I think that it is entertaining, and it has kind of prospered for American audiences because we like to think of ourselves during the Revolutionary War as something very
vagabonds.
Well, yeah,
all alone.
That and very unique, right? We were unique in the fact that like we were able to break away from the British, and it's like, in the scheme of the world, and this film kind of even talks about that. In the scheme of history, even in 1776, we're not that unique. These things kind of happened throughout history, and we're kind of thinking about it from a 250-year period. But in the scheme of history, I mean, pretty much anything you can think of did happen from a historical perspective between nations. So, again, it's not that I think that the story of America's birth is rote or anything like that. I just think that this film kind of takes it at a level that is a little bit ridiculous when you really stop and think about it. I'm not one of those guys that has 1776 on the back of my truck, right? I don't have the Constitution's opening paragraph written on it.
Oh, I do.
And and when I celebrate July 4th, I'm really there for the beer. But
I intend everybody every 4th of July, to read all the Federalist Papers.
Right, exactly. That would probably be better time spent than
watching this.
Yeah, but
I mean, like, it's good because again, I think like seeing our friend, like I'm also too the guy that plays Major Villain. I'm drawing a blank on him because it's a Turkish name, so. The guy that plays Major Villain, like, yes, it shows, like, in your school, school we're taught, like, the French, the French helped us. And it's like, without understanding what was really, going on with that and how much of an importance that role thing played. Because it's like the same thing to do with, like, the War of 1812. I'm like, they were impressing our sailors, so we fought the British, and it was a stalemate, but we gave it a good go. And it's like, we don't learn about the Napoleonic Wars that much in our schools. And it's like, why were we able to kind of hang around with the British during the War of 1812? They were fucking fighting Napoleon on like the War of the Sixth Coalition.
Right.
That's why, it's just funny to think about. And, I'm ranting here, but it's just funny to think about in the grand scheme of things because it's,
It is.
We like to promote this idea of like, it's like our pluckiness and ingenuity and, free for all fighting. And it's like, because it's the funny thing too. Like the other thing too, like I think we should normalize not calling it the American Revolution here because everywhere else is called the War of Independence because it is a war of independence. This is not
true.
Nothing that happened during the revolution was revolutionary. Like,
that is true, yeah.
It's not, like a great, uprooting of society like the French Revolution, so.
Right. Anything else that you wanted to discuss before we get into the rating?
I love Jupiter and Mars. Those are beautiful Great Danes.
That's true. Yeah.
Those are strong, beefy dogs.
Mars and Jupiter, I think was the name?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, nice names for the dogs, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, they are a delicious delicacy as well.
Looking at, see, the great thing about that joke too, though, is John Billings looks like he's eating dog.
Yeah, exactly. He's like,
So,
you
like,
can
when the
believe, that guy ate dog. Yeah. Yeah.
He might have ate dog during the French and Indian, war,
Yeah,
but
you
like,
can-
because the Reverend's like, oh my, like, which I find hard to believe. Like, like a Reverend back then, I could be wrong, but it would be like, oh, you eat dog? It's not like it's horse or anything,
Right,
But
yeah.
like,
That is hilarious, though. Yeah.
but yeah, like when Mel Gibson, like, oh yes, dog's delicacy. And he's like, oh Lord,
Yeah.
like like it is.
Yeah. With him, you can believe he ate dog. All right. So on a scale of 0 to 10, grizzly cannonball attacks, what would you give?
How'd you like that guy losing his leg?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, it does have some nice gore in it, to kind of show the horrors of war. But what would you give The Patriot?
Give it a 7.5 out of 10. Well, look, it's historically inaccurate. It's a bastardization of our history, but I do find, like I said, it's a guilty pleasure of mine. It is a film that is a giant B-movie soap opera about the birth of this country. I think, especially with today, with people being more sensitive about, politics and history when it comes to media, if you can understand that and the things that it's omitting, you can have a fun, great time with it. I think it is schlocky. It is, over the top, but I think that's what makes this film American. Because I don't think we're capable no matter what era of enlightenment that we are, of like making a film like The Bridge on the River Kwai or Lawrence of Arabia. We don't have it in it because we got too much, America, fuck yeah, boom, 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 guns blazing attitude about it. So we put an Australian in this film to be the one to save us. I think it's fun. It's long, but it doesn't feel long. It doesn't overstay its welcome. There is some good action, as dumb as it gets, good gore, good battle, good feels. It's not tight, but it is fun enough. I think Tom Wilkinson's fucking the reason to watch this film. So is Jason Isaacs, but like, it is a well-made, well-put-together film, just like something like Roland Emmerich's Independence Day. It is what it is. You're either gonna, be able to get behind it, enjoy it for what it is, or you're not gonna be interested. But for me, personally, 7.5 out of 10. I like it. It still, I think, works as a piece of entertainment, and I would say, check it out and understand the flaws in it.
Yeah, I mean, I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. I think it's a fun film. It is an entertaining movie. A bit on the long side. I do think that it is overly too long for what it really needs to do. So I think it's kind of searching for a topic versus having something that really makes sense to extend for almost 3 hours. It's overstuffed. But I think what it does offer up is a pretty big step up from something that I would consider like the History Channel documentary of the Revolutionary War. It's certainly it seems like a giant budgeted version of that. I think that it probably may have been a bit better off if it was something like a 4-part miniseries or something like that, where it could really expound upon these personal stories of people involved in the Revolutionary War. And that might have been a better use of time for those types of stories. With that said, I think giving a very personal vendetta story within the context of the Revolutionary War sort of detracts from the idea behind the Revolutionary War. Like I feel like it should have maybe focused primarily more on the personal stories of people involved in it that participated in the militia that kind of led them to victory against the British. But like in this case, I think that it kind of takes away from some of those personal stories of people also involved in the militia. And it kind of only comes back to that when it feels like it. So I think like it is a, obviously jingoistic movie. It is certainly not really based in historical accuracy from the American perspective, and it certainly takes liberties as to, kind of telling the birth of America. But at the same time, it's an entertaining movie. I think that's what you're looking for in a blockbuster, and it definitely doesn't surprise me from a Roland Emmerich type movie that it's going to go for more of those, dramatic elements that it brings to the table. And so, that's probably what's going to get it the most footage of the most viewership, I should say, from the masses. So it makes sense. I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. It was good. I probably don't need to see it again. But I'm glad I did watch it once to experience this epic movie in Americans' pastime. All right. So we hope you have a great July 4th, as we're going to release this prior to that. What do we got on the docket? Anything specific in mind for coming up here?
Did you want to do a Mel Brooks movie for his 100th birthday?
Well, that is true. He is celebrating a 100th birthday. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, something.
Wow.
No, yeah, I'm just saying, I'm not sure. I was saying that as in, I'm not sure which one to do, but yeah, we'll have to do something.
Well, we've only done one so far.
That's true. Yeah, we'll do some. Yeah, I mean, I'm almost kind of like, let's not do some of his main movies. Like, let's do something lesser known or something maybe not as popular, but we can talk about it. We'll figure something out.
I think I know what we should do.
Ooh, what do you got?
I think we should do Robin Hood Men Tights.
Well, yeah, that is. Why do you say that one in specific?
You said one that's not like a big one.
Well,
would you rather do Dracula Dead and Loving It?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. That one is less loved than all the others.
Well, so is Robin Hood Men Tights. So.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, we can do something like
that. No. It's okay.
That'd be fun.
Actually, let's do High Anxiety instead.
That's true. I mean, that's definitely not one of his more well-known films. So, but yeah, we'll figure something out. But yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Mel Brooks movie. Like you said, we've only done one, so.
Sue the producers. I don't have to do it. I can do that off of memories.
Yeah.
Or Blazing Saddles.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to our episode on what?
Just like, just keep trucking on.
Yeah, just keep going. We'll figure it out. So thanks for listening.
That's why we're going to do the Italian horror film next time.
Yeah. Yeah. So happy 4th of July. Thanks for listening to our episode on the Patriot. Hope you enjoyed. If you have time, go and watch this 3-hour epic. Get it in.
We're available on all podcasting, as you forgot to mention.
That's true. We're on pretty much any podcast app you can think of. We're home base at Spotify. We have our Apple Podcasts link, and pretty much anything you can think of, we're on it. So subscribe, leave us a nice review. We're on Facebook and Blue Sky. Search for us on there, Blood and Black Rum Podcast. We have an email address, bloodandblackrumPodcast@gmail.com. Write to us. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what movies you want us to watch. We'll take that into consideration. I think we have a couple recommendations that we're still yet to get in there. And you can also donate to us on our Patreon page. Anything you donate goes back towards beer. So we appreciate that in advance. Again, thanks for listening. We'll be back in probably a week or so with our next episode. And until then,
take care. Happy 250.